Good morning, everybody. We had a very sudden scheduling of a White House press briefing with Donald Trump's press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany. And we are also watching live testimony from Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Robert Redfield. So there's a lot going on today. And then Donald Trump with a full day of propaganda ahead of him. That may explain why the press briefing was scheduled for so early. Standing by about 15 minutes from the start of that, we're going to have time to review some of the interesting moments from Dr. Fauci's testimony so far. What else? I do want to look a little bit at the latest polls. We haven't looked at polling lately, and it actually is tightening a little bit. And as I said, I'm like, it seems like I'm taller in the morning. I'm off the top of the screen. That's weird. My chair is at the normal height, but I'm somehow, well, actually, it could just be that my hair is doing something weird. But in any case, we are here, and a lot of different and exciting things going on. I do hope that we hear from Kayleigh about plasma as well as remdesivir, two things that Donald Trump talked about yesterday. I was laughing all night about plasma yesterday, and my girlfriend's pretty annoyed by it because I keep talking about plasma and also saying PLOZMUH. PLOZMUH. I actually, PLAWSMA is also funny. I see some people spelling it that way. But PLOZMUH for some reason just gets me every single time. And also, yeah, people recalling that at first Donald Trump was calling it rum reservoir, like a reservoir of the spirit, the alcohol, rum. But yesterday, remdesivir was pretty wild, but there's nothing better than plasma. That's just absolutely the best. So one relevant moment from this testimony from Dr. Let's just listen to a few seconds and watch maybe the mask added.
We're working on a vaccine. We sent a strong message to China. This will not be tolerated. I'm glad the administration took action by naming and shaming those involved, as well as closing down a Chinese consulate that was a hub for intellectual property and trade secret theft. We must hold China accountable, Mr.
Okay, so it sounds like it's actually gone completely delusional. So let me just play a clip for you that I think is actually more relevant. Here was Dr. Fauci asked, why is the coronavirus so much worse in the United States? And listen to what Dr. Fauci said.
Can you help us understand why?
Why?
While Europe has largely contained the virus, the United States has seen a continued rise in new cases.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The answer to that question is really somewhat complex, but I'll try maybe to very briefly go through.
This is much better than the rantings of some Republican lunatic.
But I believe are at least some of the factors that were involved. If you look at what happened in Europe when they shut down or locked down or went to shelter in place,
right,
however you want to describe it, they really did it to the tune of about 95+% of the country did that.
Oh, so they didn't have like 45% of the country that thought Bill Gates was trying to microchip them eventually. Okay, I got it. Okay, yeah.
You actually look at what we did, even though we shut down, even though it created a great deal of difficulty, we really functionally shut down only about 50% in the sense of the totality of the country, which means when we reached our peak, as they did, they came down almost to a low baseline, as you've shown very clearly. But take a look at what happened to our baseline. We came up, down, and then we plateaued at about 20,000 cases a day. So we started off with a very difficult baseline of transmission that was going on.
So this is so important. When we remember that, actually, let's see if I can even find it. We had a point at which, this is just so key. We got up here to about 35,000 cases a day, 39,000 cases a day, and then we got back down here to about 20,000, right? Remember, this was like early June. And it was basically like, hey, we flattened the curve. It's time to let it rip. Let's start opening back up when there were 20,000 new cases a day. So, of course, then we got back up to as many as 78,000 cases. We considered 20,000, we, not me, lunatics, considered 20,000 cases a day to have been fixing it. And as you can see, that was within 10 days, you started seeing the 7-day moving average go up. So it's like, of course, this is not a surprise to anybody. Anybody who understands realizes that that makes absolutely no sense. Oh, the main event today is this suddenly called and scheduled Kayleigh McEnany press briefing at the bottom of the hour. But we are keeping an eye on testimony from Doctors Redfield and Fauci as well. And Dr. Redfield reminds me of the Quaker Oats guy, I think, for some reason. I don't know why. I'm wondering, is okay, hold on a second. Oh, okay, yeah. So there's somebody in Twitch chat who is saying, is Pac-Man a delusional libtard? Is that something we should ban people for? Like, my instinct is no. I don't care if people, find my views reprehensible or whatever. I don't think that that's ban-worthy, although there's people calling for a ban. We basically ban for, like, overt anti-Semitism, N-word use, pasting like ASC2 art and private area, genitals in ASC2 art and stuff like that. So I don't think we need to do that. Yeah, it's not ban. People seem to agree that it's not ban worthy. Yep, we're not going to ban for that. So moderators, we can make that a policy. Criticisms of me don't trigger a ban. That's perfectly fine. Obviously, if it becomes anti-Semitic or it becomes anti-Hispanic, I take a lot of the brunt of anti-Hispanic claims in chat. I think at that point, then we go. Okay, some super chats are coming in. Andrew Bayhem says Utah voting in anti-Trump governor. Purple state this election. Polls are narrowing here, and some counties purple already. Utah is not going to be the next place, I think, to go blue, but certainly it's not as red as it once was. Peasant Media says, I told you 3 years ago Trump would suspend the election. Matt Chavez says, will it hurt Biden if he doesn't pick a black woman? Polls I looked at had black voters preferring Warren at one point. So no, I don't think so. Neptune says, thoughts on photos of Fauci at the baseball game. I mean, listen, sitting with no one within 100 feet other than two people that he are kind of in his bubble and pulling his mask down does not seem like a big deal to me. I do the same. When I'm, biking around and I'm just like near my girlfriend, we both take our masks down. I don't think it's a big deal. But then when people are near us, I put it back over my face. Per Tiran says, I think your moderators are doing a good job. Excellent. That's good to hear. Let's take a look just briefly. Let's see if anything has gone live yet. No, let's take a look just briefly at some of the latest polling. Now, if you believed that at one point Biden was winning by like 13 or 15, it appears as though the polls are tightening a little bit. New general election poll from IBD TIPP has Biden at +7. Florida has Biden at +4. He had been as much as double digits in Florida. Pennsylvania, though, has Biden +9, which is just stunning. Biden +13 in New Hampshire is crazy. New Hampshire is often close. Biden at +11 in Virginia is completely out of this world. Yesterday, we had, or 2 days ago, general election poll had Biden +9, +6, and +9. Here are some left-leaning polls where Biden is only up 3 in Florida. That's relevant. So I think if there's any takeaway for me, it's all the polls tell us is that there's a clear opportunity to remove Donald Trump. And that's as far as we should go. Anything that is in the direction of Biden's got this is dangerous. And I would advise very, very powerfully against that. When we see polling that says Biden could be up 7 or maybe up 3 or maybe up 1 in Florida, what that tells me is if I live in Florida, I'm going to make damn sure that I'm voting because it could be a tie. The margin, if it's +2 for Biden with a margin of error of 3, that means Trump could actually be winning. So it's an opportunity. That's all that it means. And we should all make sure that we understand that that's all it means. Nobody should be thinking, maybe they don't need my vote. Maybe my vote's not necessary. Let me say thank you and welcome to everybody watching on Twitch. Very, very exciting announcement. Actually, let me see if I have any updates. It looks as though I will be co-streaming with chess grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura sometime in the next 5 days. And it could be the event America's been waiting for to bridge the gap between left and right. Okay, so I will have a more specific announcement once I can make that. But we are in very, very advanced discussions. Hikaru's representatives and my representatives, we represent ourselves, you understand. But his and my representatives are talking right now. And we may be looking at a co-stream in the next few days in advance of my participation in the PogChamps 2 tournament. And I'm kidding about bridging left and right. I have no idea what Hikaru's politics are. I think he stays away from politics generally, but it's going to be very, very powerful. And I think that's going to be soon. I also am finalizing my next stream with Alexandra Botez, and Eric Rosen is going to be back in the mix. I'm really doing a full training for PogChamps 2, but that is not the subject today. Today, the subject is this sudden press briefing scheduled with Kayleigh McEnany. And we are also just kind of keeping an eye on testimony from Dr. Robert Redfield of the CDC, who is now going, let's see his mask strategy. Oh, I wanted to see whether he went first over the ears. And because some people seem to not even know how to put a mask on, which is weird. Okay. Over on Twitch, Logon PC has subscribed for 3 months. Drew Nielsen has subscribed. And Spy Hunter has subscribed, which is very, very exciting. We are targeting 50,000 followers on Twitch. I want to also welcome the 7,600 of you watching on YouTube. And just a extremely friendly reminder, smash that like button and completely disassemble that subscribe button. We are now at 906, almost 907,000 subscribers. My goal is 1 million by Election Day. Let's actually get an update from Social Blade. So when we started, oh, there goes Fauci's mask technique is just absolutely flawless. That was it was like a half second it took him to put that thing on. When we hit 900,000 on YouTube, we were scheduled to hit 1 million on January 9th. Okay. Thanks to you guys, by yesterday, it had been moved up to January 6th. Oh my goodness, we are now in 2020. So thanks to people subscribing, the target, the estimate for 1 million has now been pulled just barely into this calendar year. 12/31/2020 is now the projection for 1 million subscribers. So we now are we've made 10 days of progress in the last 3, if you understand what I'm saying. Meaning if we can keep this pace up, it is conceivable that we could hit 1 million subscribers by Election Day. And if that happens, I'm going to destroy all of my equipment in celebration. It's going to be crazy. I'm going to get all new equipment after destroying. It's going to be like a rock show. So very, very exciting. But in all seriousness, if you are watching on YouTube, consider hitting that subscribe button, because it really does do a lot for us. Thank you to Yan Thalala for gifting 10. Oh God, that's going to be clipped. 10 community subscriptions over on YouTube. We have already completed the 2nd level of a hype train, which is just crazy. Let's see. What is Dr. Redfield doing, by the way?
A lot of it's reported by teachers. We've seen that go down. We've seen emergency cases and emergency.
Just kind of holding it up to his face. That's interesting. Okay, super chats are coming in. Let's see here. Kyle says, it's ASCII, not ASC2. I prefer to say ASC2, much like I call it Tulsa, Oklahoma. TechWen sends a super chat. User says, if you want to understand Trump, you need to know about the Dunning-Kruger effect. Yeah, I've actually interviewed David Dunning. If you want to understand Trump, check out my interview with David Dunning. Immanuel Kant says, have you seen the new Lincoln Project ad, Wake Up? Yes, it's very good. Daniel Huberman says, is it fair for Republicans to blame the virus uptick on protests? Well, listen, it depends which protest. If there were maskless protests, then certainly. Most of the George Floyd protests were with mask protests. Yeah, it looked like Redfield it was almost like he was chloroforming himself with that mask. I recently read a book. It's called The Poisoner's Handbook, and it's about the sort of start of the science of determining whether people have been poisoned. Super interesting book, and yeah, he did look like he was chloroforming himself there. Let me say thank you to Natasha DeBoer, who is new member number 1 today at joinpacman.com. Christian Koch, is new member number 2. Couch is number 2. Johan Eriksson. I think Europe is heavily represented today because of the time of the stream. Johan Eriksson is new member number 3. And Ajamu Omowale is new member number 4. Great to see you, Ajamu. I really appreciate your continued support. We are just 4% from achieving a level 5 hype train over on Twitch, which is very, very exciting. We are waiting now for the start of this press briefing with Kayleigh McEnany, scheduled for the bottom of the hour. Check out Fauci's mask technique. He knows to go right for the ear. What would you call them? The ear restraints, the ear straps. And look at the strategy. Watch him do it if and when he does it here. Oh, now he's folding up the mask. It's a little too much touching of the mask, I would say. He's really all over the mask, but his technique, the ear containment straps, the flappers maybe. Yeah, his mask technique is absolutely perfect. Thanks to Bill W. for gifting 5 subscriptions over on Twitch and getting us to a level 5 hype train. Simric says the Fauci mask maneuver. Yeah, that's what I would call it. I think that's actually a perfect way to describe it. Adrienne says Dukakis was polling the same way in 1988. Yeah, listen, let's not become complacent at all about the polling. It's just, Biden's up, Biden's down. Just everybody has to vote. I know it's become memed that I say everybody has to vote. None of this means anything, but you can find polls from this point with Hillary Trump where Hillary was winning by double digits. They were less common. Dukakis, there's all of these different examples. So yeah, anybody becoming complacent is risking being devastated on November 4th, and I don't want to see that. Nerd Alert says, good morning from Las Vegas. It's burning with vid. Don't forget to hit the like button. Yeah. Khaled Hawazli says, hey, David, I'm a paid subscriber to you on YouTube. Do you prefer I subscribe on any other channel or site? Happy to help. Listen, the best place to subscribe is my website because all of these other platforms, they're taking slices, to quote Andrew Yang. It's like everybody wants a slice, a slice, a slice. We control the full process on our website, and we just pay to swipe credit cards, essentially. So joinpacman.com is the place, and I'll just get my membership mention out of the way right now. The best place to support us is joinpacman.com. The daily hour show, the 20-minute bonus show, the 1, 2, or sometimes 3 streams a day. All of this stuff is funded by website memberships. A lot of people have had to cancel in the last month or two because of COVID, coronavirus 19, Trump COVID-20, whatever you call it in your home. You know what I'm talking about. The Trump flu, etc. So everybody that signs up at joinpacman.com is sort of alleviating that crisis that a lot of people are experiencing. I believe the normal prices are beautiful prices, perfect prices, but I'm glad for you to take 66% off by using that coupon code 2020 now, 66% off, and unpublished coupon code ends today. This is a July only coupon code, completely unpublished. July surprise. Okay. July surprise. All one word, all lowercase. It's the last day of July, expires tonight at midnight Eastern or midnight Pacific. It's a good question. In any case, July Surprise is an extra coupon code, and that's something very, very important to keep in mind. Still standing by for Kayleigh McEnany, so we'll keep an eye on what's happening at the House of Representatives hearing room here. Mr. Biscuit says, I guess we're only progressive so long as the sitting president isn't dictatorial. Then we abandon principal and settle for moderate conservatism. I don't totally know what you're saying, but I'm pretty sure I disagree with your perspective, respectfully, of course. We've achieved a full and complete level 5 hype train on Twitch. We are at 112%. Remember that the record is 620% level 5. We are at 112% there. Let's see. Other messages coming in. Mike Oxhard says, have you put on the quarantine 15? There's a before and after photo of you circulating on Twitter, and your face has filled out since 2019. No, I've lost weight during quarantine, shockingly. I think it's probably because I'm eating out less, And I would love to, I would love to see that. Can anybody tell me how to find a supposed before and after picture of me on Twitter? That sounds absolutely hilarious. Yeah, my Zooks and Cukes. If you eat enough 10-inch Zooks, I guess potentially you might put weight on. Yeah, if anybody can tell me how to find this before and after picture, that sounds hilarious. Oh, man. Nobody can help me. Okay. David is thinner now, people are pointing out. Wow. My biking is definitely incremented. Here come the Photoshops. Yes, by the way, if you want to make, I'm worried that I'm opening up a can of worms, but if you have supposed David fat memes that you want to send me, I would love for you to send them to me, david@davidpacman.com. And I always am glad to display memes from the audience if people send them. All right, so nobody can tell me where to find these before after. Oh, man. Make McEnany great again, yeah. All right, well, I don't know. If somebody can super chat it, I will find it. I'm scared of what I might see. Okay, D. Ken, I can't stand the liar Dr. Fauci. I think his earlier lies about wearing a mask is a bigger deal than the press is making it out to be. I can't stand the liar Dr. Fauci. Oh, my God. That's not good. 521 says, where did that go? You the man. I can only watch these things with your commentary. Thank you. Bjorn Eric Knutson says, my student fee for following DPS class, 109 Nokia dollars. No, I know, that's Norwegian kroner. This is weird that the video has... Is anybody live in the room with the McEnany press briefing? Does anybody know? We don't know? Okay. I would love to see how close we are to this fiasco. People are getting triggered by the masks going on and off. You know what really bothers me? When I'll be in the supermarket and people are just like constantly fingering the mask, like they constantly have to touch it. And I'm not talking about, sometimes when you talk, I get that it gets pulled down and then you have to pull it back up. But just people who can't keep their hands off of the mask. It's like, just leave the mask. Wait until you get out of the supermarket and then pull it down. C-SPAN is a feed of the entrance. Okay, let me see. I mean, I would take the entrance to be quite frank with you. C-SPAN. Let's see what we have happening on C-SPAN here. I can't even find the live feed on C-SPAN, to be totally honest. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just not. I mean, I love when people are at... So much of the chat is just commenting on how I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like, listen, guys, I understand what's going on. It has not gone live yet. I will refresh the Fox News one. Nope, still not live. Okay, we're just keeping an eye on it. I will go volume up on White House feed just so we do get that eventually. Emily Maiden says, is it possible to sign up on your website if we're already YouTube members? Yes, these are two completely separate and unrelated things. They have nothing to do with each other. Thanks to Eric Rothschild for the 3 months of support on Twitch with the message Jersey. Okay. Few other website members I want to thank. Dan Stone is new member number 5 today. Stephen Whitesides Rowe is new member number 6. Nicholas Kelleher is new member number 7. Janie Stewart, you are new member number 8. Yumi Charbonneau is new member number 9. We're getting into dicey pronunciation territory. Andrew Kayleigh. Wait, did I thank Andrew already? No. Andrew is new member number 10. Ann Malmston is new member number 11. David Frey is new member number 12. Lily Rundlet is new member number 13. Hayden Sanford is number 14. Brian Behrens is number 15. And Peter Banks is number 16 today. I'm doing what I can to keep up with these. I think I'm mostly caught up, but I may have missed a couple, and I will get back to them very soon. Let's listen in briefly to Dr. Fauci.
Salons. I haven't seen one hairstylist.
Oh no, it's
who,
Jim
between
Jordan.
Haircuts, goes out and attacks police or sets something on fire. But we've seen all kinds of that stuff during protests, and we know the protest actually increased the spread of the virus. You've said that.
I said crowds. I didn't say specifically. I didn't say protest do anything.
So the protests don't increase the spread of the virus?
I didn't say that. You're putting words in my mouth.
No, I just want an answer to the question. Do the protests increase the spread of the virus?
Imagine being so backwards as a country that Fauci is the enemy.
Are known, particularly when you don't have a mask, to increase the acquisition and transmission. No matter what the crowd is.
So you don't have a position on whether the protests increase the spread of the virus or don't increase the spread of the virus?
I'm saying that crowds, wherever the crowds are, can give you an increased probability that there's going to be acquisition and transmission.
But do you understand Americans' concern? Protesting, particularly according to the Democrats, is just fine, but you can't go to work, you can't go to school, you can't
It's just
go to
about
church.
masks, my friend. You're an idiot.
All three of those fundamental activities, First Amendment activities, but protesting is just fine.
You know,
The gentleman's time has expired, but I'll just ask the gentleman to just think about his question and put it in reference to crowds that gather at political meetings, at fundraisers without masks, on an oil rig in Texas, nobody wearing a mask, nobody social distancing, but a fundraiser.
Right.
Would that be problematic? With that, I'll yield 5 minutes to Mr. Foster.
We are really an embarrassment of a country, guys. I mean, you know, other countries. I just was, by the way, I was recently interviewed on a New Zealand program by it called Department of Conversation with Pat Brittenden, and it's publishing on my channel soon. It's already on his channel. And we were talking about how in New Zealand with Jacinda Ardern, it's not like she's doing crazy things. She's just recognizing she's a politician. She's not a doctor. Get doctors and public health people to tell us what to do. And here they've weaponized opposition to medical experts. Look at Tucker Carlson. Look at Janine Pirro, Laura Ingraham, Jim Shorts Jordan, all these Congressman COVID, Louis Gohmert, all these different people. The world is horrified by what we're doing here, where Dr. Fauci now is a political figure. You know, it's an embarrassment. And, you know, getting rid of it would start with getting rid of Donald Trump, but it would certainly not end there. And it is a real, complete and total embarrassment. If you're just joining us, you've not missed Kayleigh's press briefing yet. They called it very suddenly for a much earlier time of day than they are typically scheduled for. And they're running late, as usual. I'm going to take a look at whether it has been rescheduled, if the White House calendar has changed at all. Nope, still scheduled for 10:30, and Trump has a meeting at 11:30 that will have press. So you think they have to do it soon because otherwise they're going to just run up against that next event. So we'll keep an eye on it and see what's going on. Thanks to Boys for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Dashboard has subscribed on Twitch. Rewound VHS has also subscribed on Twitch. If you are watching on YouTube, you can get a message up on the screen in the lower left by using the super chat function. Carl Smith, for example, says Trump likes to refer to negative polls as suppression polls. Wouldn't positive polls be better at suppressing votes by complacency? Generally speaking, yes, I agree. In fact, I've said that the risk of so many negative polls for Trump is that it actually mobilizes and activates his supporters to say, oh, he might lose, I've got to go and vote. So it's not only is it indefensible empirically, it's also obviously counterproductive. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Neptune says, enjoyed the OnlyFans post today, David. Thanks. Oh, yeah, you should see what's on my OnlyFans. It's really crazy. No, of course, I am not actually on OnlyFans. I am on Cameo. And in fact, I think I have a bunch of Cameo requests I have to do. I have 4 cameos I have to record. Maybe I'll record them after this. I am on Cameo. I am not on OnlyFans. There is no private OnlyFans or anything like it. Donna Williams says, have you considered staying on for a few minutes after Kayleigh is for further discussion? Enjoying your commentary. Yeah, I might stick around a little bit today, depending on how soon they start. I do have a really, really big day today. My car lease ends in mere hours. I've got to fully clean out my car and get ready to return it. And I've got to weed my my Cukes and Zooks and there's just a lot going on today. My inbox has absolutely burst with emails, so I've got a bunch of stuff to do. But if they get started relatively soon, I could maybe stick around a little bit after. Let's see here. Tara Benesh says, just home from the hospital. This is a good distraction to heart problems. Sorry to hear that, Tara. Don't like to hear that anybody in the audience, even Congressman COVID, I don't wish the virus upon him or anybody. Let's see here. People asking why lease versus own. I don't know that we have time for that right now. But in short, when I owned vehicles, I tended to replace them every 3 or 4 years anyway. And for me, leasing, particularly when it's done through my business, it's completely deductible. It's like renting a car. Whereas if you buy a vehicle, you're subject to certain deduction limits. I also have the advantage of knowing I'm not going to have any repair fees of any kind because the vehicles are relatively new. And I like trying out different types of cars. I'm going electric next, and I think that's going to be very, very exciting. And I'll report to you how that is going once I get into it. Still no live video from Kayleigh McEnany. We'll see what's going on. Who knows? You know, they abruptly call a press briefing much earlier than they normally do it. And then they're 15 minutes late, and we still don't even have live video in the room. It doesn't make any sense. It's very, very strange. Michael Blanco says, remember when the right called Biden a conspiracy theorist when he floated the idea Trump would delay the election? It's crickets now. Yeah, in fact, I have been posting about that to my Twitter. And it's people, at least someone owes Biden an apology. Keith Stone says, my girlfriend wants Fauci to do the FMM on her. Oh, boy, that's not appropriate for this stream. That's for a different stream. Patrick Miller says, Nancy Pelosi is hot. Brandy Buck says, easily the most professional political channel. Thank you. Patrick Miller, do you have a Discord server? Yes, I am not at all involved in it. There is an unofficial David Pakman Show Discord, and I have nothing to do with it. But there is an unofficial Discord server. There's a lot of activity on it, in fact, and you can find it on Discord. Let's see. Other super chats. Adam Bennett says, what are you looking down at when someone signs up? Down. I'm looking over. When someone signs up, I look over at one of my 5 monitors. So for example, Steve Schwartz just became new member number 17 and it's over on another monitor. Ryan Usselman is number 8. Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm looking down at my keyboard so I can type in the right numbers to update this bar. That's what I'm looking down at. Lars Winther, number 19. Darren Armstrong, number 20. Debbie Hilton, number 21. James Coquiat, number 22. Garrett Bloom is number 23. Selena Weber. Did I thank Selena? I think that, okay, let's call that 24. Selena might have been counted twice. Who knows? Also, thanks to Eddie G for the Twitch sub saying, Ireland viewer here, seeing American politicians attack scientists isn't something I was expecting to see in the 21st century. You and me both. Also, Mongo Smash has subscribed and says, keep up the good work, David. Thank you. I appreciate that. You've not missed anything. I know a lot of people are wondering if it's 10:48, is the briefing over? No, it's not. We're not even in the pre-briefing phase yet. It's really weird. Thanks to Heather and Rob for subscribing on YouTube. Robin Neal says, Dave, you're awesome. What do you think about Pompeo's comments about Barr making a decision about moving the election? Completely dystopian and horrifying. I mean, really, just absolutely horrible. And we have to hope that that's just not true. It should not be up to William Barr to decide if we have an election. That would be crazy. I'm told that Now This News has live video from the press briefing room. So let's take a look at that. We may have to sit through a brief ad here, but I'm told that this is live. Let's take a look. Back it up here. Very long ad here. Okay, live. It actually looks like it's getting very close. The room is actually quite full already For whatever reason, Fox is not live and neither is the White House, but we'll keep it here for now. It seems like it seems like we're getting close. Okay, Essential says, answer to Jim, whatever the contact tracing shows. Yeah, Dr. Fauci could have gone in that direction. Gary Thompson says, hi, David. Perhaps the Orange Man will spend the weekend in his White House bunker checking the rum reservoir and stocks of plasma. Best wishes from the UK. Yeah. If you're just joining us, yesterday Donald Trump pronounced plasma as plasma multiple times, and I was just laughing all night. All night I was laughing because of plasma and remdesivir. I was thinking, like, there has to be something wrong with him, right? Like, imagine that, for example, like on the show, a word that maybe is not the most common word, but that comes up often because of what I do would be, what's a good example? I had an example this morning that I was thinking of. Like on the show, I regularly use the word, man, now I'm forgetting I had just a great example. What's a word I use on the program regularly that maybe is not such a common word in general conversation that would be a good example? No, not Tulsi. Not Tulsi. Everybody's saying Tulsi. No. How about like politicization? Okay, that's a word that maybe like accountants probably don't use the word politicization, etc. Imagine if for months I was saying it, and after saying it, I was like, there's a lot of politicization in the United States. Wouldn't that be weird if after that long I was still having trouble saying the word? Like we would start to wonder whether there's some problem that I have when it comes to speaking or something like that. Like Trump's been saying, remdesivir is something that's been in the lexicon for months at this point, and like he still can't say it. Convalescent plasma has been in the lexicon for months at this point in time, and he's talking about plasma. And part of what it might be is that nobody afterwards wants to be the person who goes up and says, listen, Mr. President, it's plasma. And especially the longer it goes, it's like when you forget someone's name and then you're like, oh, I don't want to ask them for their name. And then you see them a third, fourth, fifth, sixth time and you realize if now I ask them for their name, it's going to be really embarrassing because now we're on like the 10th time that I've seen this person. It could be the same thing where nobody wants to go up to Trump now and say, sir routine. It's not plasma, it's plasma, because he will lose their mind. He will lose his mind on them, rather. People asking about BTTV emotes over on Twitch. As far as I know, I enabled a bunch of them yesterday. But, it's like I've added the BTTV thing to Chrome. I've added it to Firefox. I hit add emote on like 10 or 20 different emotes. I don't know what else I can do. Oh, what's going on? Sounds like we have live video somewhere. Oh, good. We have the live feed over on the White House now. That's good. We'll stay here. I prefer this feed perfectly, frankly. Okay, very good. Anyway, you guys tell me if some of these emotes are enabled. I enabled a whole bunch of them, and I don't know what's going on. All right. We have achieved 10,000 live viewers over on YouTube, which is very exciting. Jim Jordan, pedo enabler, says Peasant Media. Luis Lopez says, good morning from sunny San Diego. David Pakman Show, greatest real news outlet, standing strong. Deserves more than 1 million subscribers. When can we buy apparel? We had to shut down all apparel sales because I was basically, you know how Trump early in the virus said the U.S. government is not a shipping clerk? I was becoming a shipping clerk because production and shipping were taking so long because of the virus that every day I was fielding 5 to 10 inquiries about where's my stuff. And it's like, I'm trying to stream. I'm trying to, record my show. I actually can't be a shipping clerk. So I had to shut down all apparel sales for the foreseeable future. And obviously I would love to start it back up once things normalize, but I have no estimate at this point in time. Josh Sitter Kanishi says, well, where'd that go? Josh Sitter Kanisi. We in Canada don't blame Americans for your president, but if reelected, then the blame is on all Americans. Love your streams. Yeah, I mean, if after all this we don't remove Trump, we deserve some kind of punishment. Osborne says, David, don't you like eggplant? I lived off eggplant one summer, but I still like them. Yeah, I didn't plant any eggplant this year. Partially it was because by the time I went, that was weird. What was that? Okay, I'm going to mute this. We don't want multiple audio streams. By the time I had to finalize what I was planting, none of the stores I went to had eggplant seedlings, and it was too late to plant seeds. Okay. Thanks to Liam Hamama for subscribing on Twitch with the message, I wish someone asked Trump to define per capita in a press conference. I tweeted that 2 months ago. It would be great for Trump to be asked that question. Eddie G. Oh, no, I already read Eddie G's message. Good. We're actually caught up there. Good. A Serious Scaper says, just became a member on the David Pakman Show website. Happy to support you. Thank you. I appreciate that. A few other people I want to say thanks to. Teresa Gegan is new member number 25. Roger Ricker is new member number 26. Lori Martin is new member number 27. And Todd Mobley is number 28. Let's see what's happening today. Hello, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to begin with some brief remarks from Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and he'll be giving you all an update on Phase 4 negotiations.
Oh, my God. It's really bad already.
Good morning. As you know, over the last several days, we've been having conversations on Capitol Hill, Secretary Mnuchin and myself, with Democrat and Republican leaders, both in the House and the Senate. Last night, we concluded a meeting with Senator Schumer and Speaker Pelosi a little bit before 10 o'clock. And at the president's direction, we have made no less than 4 different offers to Democrats on Capitol Hill.
I think it's no fewer, right?
And make sure that the enhanced unemployment that is set to expire today, along with eviction protection that is set to expire as well, is protected. And those 4 different offers have been actually rejected. But more importantly than that, they've not even been countered with a proposal. So the Democrats are certainly willing today to allow some of the American citizens who are struggling the most under this pandemic to go unprotected. And the president has been very clear for us to be aggressive and forward-leaning to make sure that they get protected. And yet what we're seeing is politics as usual from Democrats up on Capitol Hill. It surprises me.
Like attacking a doctor who's just trying to save people, yeah.
Passion and caring about those that truly are in need, that a temporary solution to make sure that unemployment, enhanced unemployment continues, has been rejected not once but multiple times. The Democrats believe that they have all the cards on their side, and they're willing to play those cards at the expense of those that are hurting. And,
oh my God, what an
we'll
idiot.
continue on with additional discussions today with Senator Schumer and Speaker Pelosi. Perhaps an in-person meeting tomorrow on Capitol Hill.
This guy's gross.
As we stay engaged. But I'm disappointed in what we've experienced over the last 3 days, and I want to stress
there's essentially nothing here that's newsworthy. There's no actual substance here whatsoever that would be like if I were to report on what he said, I'd have nothing to say.
The president has sent us back not once, not twice, but 3 different times to try to find some common ground. And what we've found from our Democrat negotiators is that they are bumping the price higher than the very bill.
They continue to talk about the left Democrats playing politics, and they keep using this pejorative, the Democrat Party, the Democrat leaders. It's like, right, oh, you're not playing politics, right, Mark?
Rose bill, they have $100 billion for schools. We matched that offer and actually put forth a proposal for $105 billion for schools for K through 12 and higher institutions. And yet, what did they say to that? Oh no, that was 2 months ago. We want to increase the amount of money that we send to schools to $400 billion. Okay. We're going in the wrong direction. They're going in the wrong direction because of partisan politics. It is very disappointing. And so we call on Capitol Hill to get serious about their negotiations. The president is serious about the negotiations. We're willing to engage. As you know, Leader McConnell yesterday put forth a 1-week extension at the current levels for enhanced unemployment. And what did we see? Senator Schumer objected to that. So there's no clearer message that the American people should receive other than the fact that the Democrats are willing to play politics at a critical time
right, that's the
in
message.
Our nation's very dire circumstances as we deal with this pandemic. So I wanted to give you that brief update so that
Thanks,
you can
Mark.
have it straight from
yeah. There's nothing to report on there. It's just meaningless drivel.
Over the last 3 days, and as we work, I'm gonna turn it over to the press secretary.
Yep.
And I think
He forgot her name, didn't he?
questions.
Liability insurance, is that a red line for you guys? McConnell said it was.
Thank you, guys.
I think she'll address that.
I'll take your questions in just a moment. The chief has to run to a meeting.
The chief.
But earlier this week, I just wanted to start off with an overview of what we've been doing on COVID. President Trump visited the great state of North Carolina to highlight the important work being done as part of Operation Warp Speed. And thanks to President Trump's leadership, the Trump administration has made substantial investments, including investing in multiple vaccine candidates, with several entering phase 3 clinical trials, including AstraZeneca, Moderna, and Pfizer, providing financial infrastructure for mass manufacturing of potential vaccines, guaranteeing doses of a vaccine will be available for distribution shortly after approval. The race for a coronavirus vaccine is truly moving at warp speed under President Trump. In addition, President Trump is leading on therapeutics. Over 140 clinical trials are now underway.
Trump has done nothing as far as that goes. Trump has nothing to do with it.
And monoclonal antibody treatments.
Plasma.
Yesterday, President Trump visited the American Red Cross headquarters to hold a roundtable on donating plasma. This initiative will empower Americans to help their fellow Americans in battling the virus. These critical investments in a coronavirus vaccine are due to the fact that we have a businessman in the White House. And according to the Wall Street Journal, quote, Democrats blame the U.S. case surge on inadequate testing and contact tracing, but the U.S. has averaged 2 to 3 times more tests per capita than most European and Asian countries. Indeed, we've done more than 59 million tests, with India at number 2 with just about 14 million tests. So
remember that once you get into the second phase of the disease, the countries that are worst off are the ones that need to keep testing. So at this point, that's not even the relevant story.
In South Korea have averaged. The U.S. is the undisputed world leader in testing. And on top of the more than 59 million tests that we've done, the FDA has authorized more than 193 tests under emergency use authorizations, including molecular and antibody tests. Under the leadership of President Trump, the U.S. is leading the world in safe and effective therapeutics and the rapid development of a potential vaccine. Together as one American people, we will defeat the invisible enemy. And with that, I will take questions.
Oh, God.
Paula.
Kayleigh, thank you. On Mark's comments about how it's Democrats who won't compromise, Democrats came up with a plan 2 months ago. The
Correct.
Republican plan was just presented on Monday, and in that time, the president has contradicted the Republican plan on the amount of stimulus checks, on student loans. Mitch McConnell threw you guys under the bus on funding for the FBI building. What do you say to the tens of millions of people who are going to lose their benefits when it appears that the real issue is that Republicans cannot agree among themselves, even though they've had months?
That's not it at all. In fact, Democrats offered a $3 trillion plan. We have a very specific focus right now, and it's not this comprehensive plan, whether it be the HEROES Act
Oh,
that Democrats
are doing
proposed that
too
wasn't serious,
much.
or the
Oh,
HEALS
okay.
Act. That narrow focus is this, that Americans are about to lose their unemployment insurance, and this White House, this Chief of Staff, this President, this Secretary of the Treasury have offered...
Remember that for months, Republicans have been trying to cut unemployment in order to force businesses to open. Now they're saying that's their focus. I mean, it's crazy.
As Mark Meadows just said to you, and how many proposals have the Democrats made? 0. And if you want to know where the Democrats' true intentions lie, look no further than the Martha McSally bill.
Look no further than 2 months ago, they already had a proposal out.
Employment insurance, it was rejected by Chuck Schumer, and that was a plan that the president was willing to endorse.
The White House
Kayleigh, what do you say to those that are going to lose $600 $600 a week in unemployment payments that need that money? And also, why didn't you start negotiating earlier, and why only the offer of an extension of 1 week?
That's Keira Phillips, right? I've met her before.
This is unacceptable, that the Democrats have been fundamentally unserious. And you just heard the chief of staff say a great example of that is they had this massive $3 trillion bill that called for $100 billion in school funding. We then gave $105 billion, which then was deemed insufficient. So if Democrats were interested in extending unemployment insurance and helping the American people, they would have endorsed the Martha McSally bill and extended the...
Martha McSally is a complete nut, and her bill was crazy. Democrats had a bill 2 months ago. I mean, it's just, you can't, unless you want to argue that time doesn't move forward, you just have to concede that.
$600 a week.
That they need to be calling the offices of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and say, get to work and stop engaging in politics on the backs of hardworking Americans who deserve these checks, who lost their jobs through no fault of their own.
Are you willing to pass on the liability protection?
That's a question for Mitch McConnell. He said that that's going to be a part of any bill, but that's Mitch McConnell's, his priority.
Liability protection for businesses so they can open without, I mean, we'll talk about that after. It's crazy.
That's our focused on. Yes.
Kayleigh, if the president is so worried about how long it'll take to count ballots in the election, then why isn't the president and this White House doing everything it can to secure more funding for staffing and other resources to make sure that we can have a safe and proper election?
Look, what this White House is focused on is making sure
she definitely has a page for that.
It's not riddled with voting fraud, and that the timetable is not hung up here. There are several lawsuits that the campaign is engaged on, and I would point you to the campaign for specifics.
That doesn't answer my question, though. My question is, what is the White House doing to get more resources for funding and staff to make sure, as the president says, that it will be a secure and safe election?
Well, as you know, Peter, states run their elections, and it is.
If that's the case, then they decide whether to delay, and Trump shouldn't even be talking about it.
Is ensuring that what Jeffrey Toobin has said over at the New Yorker, CNN contributor, notably, New York's primary vote count chaos signals trouble for November. And as he noted, you want to talk about the president, but Jeffrey Toobin himself, Democrats control the state government of New York. They are responsible for creating the fiasco that is unfolding now, and that is certain to get worse in November. States need to get their acts together when it comes to elections. And as we see in New York,
so is it up to the states, or is it not up to the states to decide to have the election?
National race, and that is certainly not what we want to see.
And I'm asking you about the president. You asked why I was asking about the president. I'm asking about the president because you work for the president.
Yes.
I guess the question is more specific.
OAN, oh my God.
So the president's meeting this morning in a few minutes with the National Association of Police Organizations. In 2008, 2012, they supported Barack Obama and Joe Biden. In 2016, they didn't support either candidate, and now in 2020, they're endorsing President Trump. To what does the White House attribute this change?
Well, it's clearly a change.
How is that even a journalistic question?
Look at the polling on defunding the police. ABC News Ipsos poll, 64% oppose defunding the police. Huffington Post, 57% oppose. Rasmussen, 59% oppose. But make no mistakes, Democrats want to defund our law enforcement. It comes at a time where 64% of Americans say they are concerned that growing criticism of America's police will lead.
It almost seems coordinated, like the OAN Kayleigh stuff.
Community where they live. The American people have seen very clearly where the Democrat Party of today stands. It's at an unacceptable place, and I think that this administration has shown.
Thanks, everybody. I'll leave you to think about that.
Who every day are out there defending and protecting our streets, and Democrat-run cities that have turned abundant.
Cities in general are run by Democrats, because Democrats tend to live in cities.
Darlene.
Can you explain why the White House did not counter with a comprehensive plan of its own? You said the White House was focused on two things, the unemployment insurance and evictions. Why not have a more comprehensive proposal to counter what the Democrats have put on the table?
So I've walked through at this podium the more comprehensive plan that this White House was hoping to see, and our priorities like tax rebates, unemployment benefits, enhanced hiring and retention payroll credits, workplace tax credits, restaurant donations, and others. Those are all part of the HEALS Act. So there is a comprehensive plan that was put forward by Republicans on the Hill with several White House priorities in it. But right now, at this day, at this moment, our focus is making sure that Americans who have lost their jobs get their paychecks. It's why, as you heard the chief of staff say, we've made 4 proposals. Democrats have made precisely 0.
About the nomination of General Tata,
That's a lie.
is the White House still behind that?
The president still supports General Tata. Yes.
Kayleigh, so is there anything that you agree with on the Democrats after all these negotiations? Are there any points of unity so far?
Well, look, they've presented 0 plans. So we've
That's a lie.
presented 4, they've presented 0. So do we?
Democrats have been saying we need a second stimulus for months, and they've put out a plan. It's fantasy world stuff to say, well, in the last 48 hours, they've not given us a plan. The Republicans have been saying we don't need a second stimulus for months now.
McSally's bill to ensure that those who are receiving those checks continue receiving them.
Is there an upper limit, Kayleigh, for the amount that you're willing to go to? Has the White House decided on some sort of a cap for how much you're willing to spend this round?
Not that I'm aware of. The president has said, he wants to make sure money gets to the American people. Yes.
The Trump administration wants $377 million in the coronavirus relief bill for the long-delayed modernization of the West Wing. How is that a priority in terms of the coronavirus pandemic? You guys talked about priorities. You had the FBI bill, which doesn't seem to have much support from Capitol Hill as well.
So 2 things, and I'm glad you asked that because I do want to give you some details about those 2 items in particular. When it comes to the FBI building, this has been a long discussed issue. I would note that the 3 previous COVID bills that have been passed had plenty of other things in them that were not related to COVID. One of those examples is the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund. This is not a red line for us. It was a part of the initial bill, but it is certainly not a red line. The priority, as I've said several times so far, is unemployment insurance, making sure Americans do not get evicted. And then as it pertains to White House renovations, many of those pertain to safety protocols, filtration systems, enhanced communication ability, and needs that we saw that were highlighted.
Right. So everything that seems extraneous that Republicans want is crucial. Anything that actually is related that Democrats want is extraneous. Got it.
Get their checks. That is the priority, ensuring that Americans do not get evicted. That is our number 1, number 2 goals.
Yes. Thank you, Kayleigh. I just wanted to confirm reports that Mark Meadows actually made an offer to extend unemployment insurance by 4 months.
I haven't spoken to him on that precise proposal, but as he's mentioned, there were 4 that were made.
Maybe a follow-up question then. I want to change gears and talk to you about Twitter. We reported yesterday that the Israeli government wrote to Twitter's CEO asking him to remove tweets from Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, calling for the genocide of the Israeli people. The company refused to do that because they said that the tweets were, quote, comments on current affairs. I'm wondering if the White House has a response, given that Twitter has recently begun restricting the president's own tweets for glorifying violence, quote, glorifying violence and spreading misinformation. And if you have spoken to the president about any further action perhaps he's taking on social media companies.
Yeah, it's a great question, Ebony. I did see that New York Post story, and I thought it was very eye-opening, and it tells you where these social media companies stand, where they're not willing to assess the Ayatollah Khomeini's tweets, but they are willing to assess President Trump's tweets. It's really appalling, and it just speaks to their overwhelming, blinding bias against conservatives and against this president. And we are taking action. The administration.
I mean, what's crazy is the Ayatollah is extremely right wing. I mean, it's like, how can you say that there's anything left wing about, that form of government and actual theocracy? This is wild.
To escape civil lawsuits for their own speech, fact checks, and deplatforming. And the petition seeks to expose social media companies to liability as a speaker or a publisher if they act as editors of content on their platforms or remove lawful speech based on politics. And very good work by the New York Post in highlighting that issue. Yes.
Thanks. Can I follow up on Darlene's question on Tata for a minute? You said that the administration is still behind him, but are you guys considering putting him in an acting role?
I have no personnel announcements other to say than the president still supports him.
Can I have one follow-up?
Yes, thank you. It's been a month since there were reports of Russian bounties on American military forces, and yet the White House has done nothing to push back on Putin. What is the delay?
Trump's enamored with Putin, that's all.
probably a dozen times from this podium. That intelligence is unverified. There are dissenting opinions. The media is, I would point to the Department of Defense saying there's no corroborating evidence to validate recent allegations. NSC allegations in recent press articles have not been verified or substantiated by the intelligence community, and ODNI has a similar statement. But look, this president acts. He is not afraid to stand up to Russia. He's done so repeatedly when our adversaries have
to be clear, this is not any kind of conspiracy. It's just Trump's enamored with authoritarians and Putin's at the top of the list, and Trump's just enamored with him. He's not going to criticize him. He's not going to go after him, confront him.
Retaliatory defensive strike. He has continually stood up to Russia, will continue to do so, and this president will always protect our troops and our men and women overseas, and he will act on verified intelligence. Bill.
Thank you, ma'am. So Colorado, Hawaii, Oregon, Utah, and Washington all have automatic mail-in ballot systems. The White House has made its position clear on absentee ballots and also the concern over these universal systems. Does the White House think that those elections are fraudulent or more at risk of fraud?
Always a mail-in ballot system, mass mail-out ballots are going to be more at risk of fraud. Look at LA County, where
it's harder to suppress mail-in ballots when you can't send armed paramilitaries or people saying you're going to need an ID even when you're not, or whatever the case may be. It's tougher to intimidate people in mail-in voting.
That are not accurate ballots that were mailed out. This is a very basic concept, and it's one that the media has done a very good job reporting on, not just Jeffrey Toobin at The New Yorker. You also had the Washington Post article on this that the president held up yesterday that says the results that they've seen in a study showed that there's an unexpected stress test of mail balloting systems, many of which were designed to handle only a small portion of the vote and are not ready to scale up in response to a pandemic. That was Washington Post. There was another great ABC piece.
They're arguing we're not ready for the number of mail-in ballots that we're expecting, and we're going to make sure to make it even harder to get them sent around by closing post offices, not allowing overtime hours for USPS workers, etc. They're like, here's a problem which we are making worse, so we shouldn't do this thing.
Mass mail-in voting is certainly subject to fraud, and good work on the part of ABC, CBS, Washington Post, and The New Yorker for highlighting the fraud that is at play, the delays that are at play, because those are, after all, the facts.
Another quick one. The chief sounded quite frustrated a second ago. Is there any situation in which the White House would walk away from negotiations on Phase 4?
I won't get in the middle of the negotiations, and I'll leave that to the chief and to the Secretary of Treasury. But yeah, there's a lot of passion because we're passionate about making sure Americans are taken care of. I've heard the president personally talk about this.
The only priority is getting Trump reelected.
That those who have lost their job get these payments, and those who, through no fault of their own, do not get evicted from their homes. So those, again, two big priorities for the president. Raquel?
Yes, thank you, Kayleigh, so much. I have two questions. One, you were here saying that how well the administration is doing is responding to the pandemic, but the facts don't show that, and Americans are struggling and scared. What do you tell them, the American people?
So the one thing I would say is the president's made clear that we're at a place where we want all Americans to make sure that they socially distance and that they make sure they engage in mitigation tactics. And the president's been clear on that. But one of the things I think, as when you look at the United States response, you look at the fact that we were supposed to have a ventilator shortage. In fact, we had a ventilator surplus.
Oh my God.
We were told that there's a testing shortage. Well, it turns out we've done at this point almost 60 million tests. This president led on the development of remdesivir. We just saw this week promising signs from convalescent plasma. Our therapeutics are advanced. I would argue the best in the world. And that's why when you look at, in particular, at the case fatality rate, which the president often talks about, you see.
I hope you guys realize that these are all these are like disjointed. Total number of tests, case fatality rate. This is not like a systemic, sequential way of actually analyzing what's going on.
And it's patriotic, as the president said, to wear a mask, especially when you can't socially distance. Hunter.
Can I ask another question of the travel ban?
Hunter. A travel ban.
Travel ban. Yes, there is a movement growing called Love is Not Tourism. They are families and couples separate for a month because of the travel ban. couples who couldn't be together on their childbirth, or mothers and sons who are separated during illness. They are asking if the administration could consider a waiver in their cases.
I haven't spoken to the president about those specific cases, but this president will always put America first. This president put in place the travel bans to protect American lives, and they've done that. Dr. Fauci acknowledging that the travel bans have saved American lives, and that is our goal at this moment. Hunter.
Thank you, Kayleigh. Two quick questions for you. Herman Cain passed away yesterday, and obviously he had tested positive for COVID 9 days after attending the president's rally in Tulsa. Officials there have connected the rally to a spike in cases. Is there any concern that Herman Cain may have contracted coronavirus at the president's rally? And is the task force doing any follow-up to track other potential cases from that event?
Look, Herman Cain is the absolute embodiment of the American dream. We are grieved and we are very saddened by his passing. He was raised in Atlanta, Georgia, on a small farm. He left with just the clothes on his back.
We're not acting for his bio.
And he rose to be an extremely successful businessman and someone who was, who contended for the nomination of our party. And I would refer you to a post on Herman Cain's website. And he says, I realize, or his website rather, I realize people will speculate about the Tulsa rally, but Herman did a lot of traveling the past week. I don't think there's any way to trace this to one specific contact that caused the infection. We'll never know. So that, and I will not politicize Herman Cain's passing, and I would just note the great contributions he's made to our society. We'll always remember him, and his legacy will stand.
And then just a follow-up on another point. Obviously, the president's tweet yesterday seemed to float the idea of delaying the election. He later said, he supports no date change whatsoever. Given a little bit of the ambiguity and confusion there, can you just state unequivocally whether or not the White House wants to see the date changed, and state 100% that is not something that you support?
The president answered this 3 times yesterday. He said, I want the date more than anyone. I don't want to delay. I want to have the election. And in a local interview he said, no one wants the date of the election more than me.
Not the question.
Because he believes November 3rd will be a moment where the American people acknowledge the great successes of this administration. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Does the president support the Chinese-backed Hong Kong government in delaying their elections?
Yeah, so I do have an answer for you on the Hong Kong elections. We condemn the Hong Kong government's decision to postpone for 1 year its legislative council elections and to disqualify opposition candidates. This action undermines the democratic processes and freedoms that have underpinned Hong Kong's prosperity, and this is only the most recent in a growing list of broken promises by Beijing, which promised autonomy and freedoms to the Hong Kong people until 2047 in the Sino-British Joint Declaration. I think it's appropriate as we see this play out on the Hill.
This is her. This is her walk off right now.
By our doctors to just acknowledge
scripted walk off.
Real successes and work of this administration. I acknowledge the ventilators, and I talked about testing and just great American industry coming together, the American people coming together and working to get us through.
In conclusion,
pandemic, and we grieve when even one life is lost. But I do want to point out just the early actions of this administration. When there were 0 reported cases in the United States on January 6th, the CDC issued Wuhan travel notice before any U.S. confirmed cases. But what were Pelosi and Chuck Schumer doing? They were calling on the GOP to support.
This is literal trash.
0 reported cases in the United States on January 17th. The CDC implements public health entry screenings at 3 major U.S. airports receiving the greatest volume of Wuhan passengers. What were Democrats doing? House Democrats were preparing to file their first brief in the sham impeachment inquiry. When there was 1 reported case in the United States on January 21st, CDC activated Emergency Operations Center. What were Democrats doing? Chuck Schumer was calling for witnesses in the impeachment trial, and Pelosi released a statement criticizing Mitch McConnell for his trial rules. And finally, when there were 7 reported cases in the United States on January 31st, President Trump issued travel restrictions on China and the first mandatory quarantine in more than 50 years. And those travel restrictions saved American lives. But what were Democrats doing? Pelosi was introducing the No Ban Act, which would have imposed undue limitations on the president's authority to restrict entry of aliens into the United States. And what are Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi doing now? Stopping Americans from getting their unemployment insurance. And it's despicable, and it's time for them to come to the negotiating table. Thank you very much.
Needs better acting lessons, I think. Oh my goodness. It's like, does she think anybody's going to report on that? I mean, I guess I should ask the question. Does the content of her walk-off ever actually become newsworthy in any way? I mean, it's just like at a certain point she turns to a random unrelated page in her notebook, reads a bunch of crap, and then walks off. It's not there's no there. There's nothing there, essentially. Let's just listen to a little bit of what's going on with Dr. Fauci here.
Wearing a mask is the critical issue, right?
I agree with that, and I think that I will go to restaurants who allow me to sit outdoors,
right? Yeah.
And not indoors. So
Me too.
I've been following the science, and I've been agreeing with all three of you as to how we ought to.
Yeah, I've been walking by some cafes recently, and there's people sitting inside like nothing's going on. And I get that they're limiting the number of people, and you've got to sort of sit apart, but it's hot right now. Like, what's the reason? I don't need to go and sit inside. I do think that the outdoor dining is reasonable right now, and I did it when I was on vacation and so on and so forth. But sitting indoors right now, when we're starting to see even the states that are handling the virus well see an uptick because, eventually it's just bursting at the seams, it really doesn't make any sense to me. Before you head out, if you join me on YouTube, all 12,000 of you, please hit that subscribe button on the way out. Subscribing is completely free. We're trying to get to 1 million subscribers by Election Day. Right now, we're projected to reach it on December 31st. So with just a little bit of tweaking that curve, we want to do the opposite of flatten the curve. We want to lift the curve. We could get there by Election Day. So if you have no clue who I am and you just ended up here because of the YouTube algorithm, please hit that subscribe button on the way out, targeting 1 million. If you've been watching on Twitch, likewise, we are hoping to get to 50,000 followers on Twitch very, very soon. I'll have an announcement about my forthcoming stream with Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura very, very soon, and I'm looking forward to you joining me for that. And I will talk to everybody very, very soon.